I love my airship. It's the only way to fly.
Hey, so this is how the rich and the ugly fly.
Oh, stewardess, will I have another bag of those spicy peanuts?
I will.
Boring!
I shall crush you like the puny runt you are. You are nothing to me, for I am the great and all-powerful Neo Cortex. You infantile vermin! How dare you mock manhandle and manipulate me? Rest assured, I will take my terrible vengeance upon...
Yeah, whatever. Skip to the good bit.
Aloha, everybody, and welcome back to Part 7 of Crash Twinsanity. And oh, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. We are now playing as Dr. Cortex without Crash. That means we get to run around and shoot at all of these ant warriors with Dr. Cortex's laser gun, and we're done. No, really, we're not going to be playing as Cortex again until Part 8. Consider that a very brief, very quick sneak preview of things to come, because we immediately transition right into the Academy of Evil with Crash, and that's how the transition is, by the way. Like, you're in the airship, you're fighting the ant warriors, it fades to black, and then when it comes back, you're just Crash in the school grounds. There's no cutscene of him getting off the airship or anything. You're just, boom, I'm in the Academy of Evil. Once again, this game was rushed. I imagine there was a lot of things they wanted to implement, such as establishing cutscenes, but that was not in the cards, I suppose. Now, with this area, all I really have to do is go to the fountain in the middle where Dr. Cortex is hanging out, because he's waiting for us to approach, and then he'll activate a switch that will get us inside the Academy of Evil. But this is a 100% collection playthrough, so I'm going to be looking out for all of the random colored gems that are just lying around here. But I'm not going to be getting 6 of them. Instead, I'm going to be collecting 5 of them, because the 6th gem that I need to collect in this area is in a very high position that I need to reach a higher platform in order to collect, and I won't be getting to that higher platform until I've, finished the majority of the Academy of Evil. So I'll be coming back for that 6th gem, but for now, I'm just going to be collecting 5 of them. In order to collect these gems, most of the time you're going to be pushing around these soccer balls, because you have to destroy these nitro boxes, but you can't contact the nitro boxes by yourself. You'll die. One-hit kill. Doesn't matter how many Aku Aku masks you have. They don't want you to cheese these puzzles. They want you to solve them the real way, you know. So you push the soccer balls, and if you want to hit it above, like a little block, like if there's nitro on top of a steel box, slide into the soccer ball. It will bounce it and make it go super high, and that's how you get it to run into the nitro boxes that way. So I run up, slide, boom! Blows up the nitro just like that. I have 59 lives. And I need them, truly. This game is challenging. It is challenging for the casual gamer, but what can I say? I'm the great Clement. Look how quickly I got those 5 gems. Anyway, let's see Cortex.
Ah, yes. The old alma mater. As a former student myself, I'm well acquainted with the many secrets this institution holds.
Alrighty, so let's go sneak on in then. And once we get inside, this place might look a little bit familiar if you've played something like Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, because it turns out in order to get into the Academy of Evil, we have to go through this sewer system, the pipe system, which looks like any of those old Crash 2 levels with, the electric eels, and the guy who's shooting, was it a flamethrower, or was he shooting, toxic gas or something? I forget. Either way, before we go on and move on to the next gimmick of this level, look down there, you'll see a whole bunch of transparent box icons, and then you look over here, and there's a switch. So, you can throw Cortex in 2 different ways. You can, just jump and push circle in order to throw him like I have with so many particular moments. But if you spin and then throw, Cortex will actually go a little bit further. You can't just jump and throw Cortex at it. He won't reach the box. It's not a far enough distance. But if you spin and throw, Cortex should run into it no problem. You don't need to worry about him falling into the acid and dying. He'll always warp back in case you missed the mark completely. But, yeah.
I'm stuck! The greatest evil scientist in the world! Stuck in a pipe. How could things get any worse?
Alright, Crash Twinsanity, I'm gonna forget that you just did a fart joke right now. I'm not usually a fan of those kinds of jokes. Maybe you found that funny, I don't know. But, anywho, here's the gimmick with this particular area. You have to trap Cortex inside of these barrels, and then you have to push him around and get him into these tubes and transport him throughout the level, because it's the only way to make certain platforms appear for Crash, and it's the only way to get through this entire section. Whee! Doom, doom, doom. Still, it's kind of fun watching these little Rube Goldberg experiments where you get to see Cortex going through all these little tubes and going from place to place to place as you push him into these little containers and stuff. That's always fun. But like before, if Cortex dies, that means you die. So when you're pushing him around, you gotta be really careful you don't push him into the nitro box, because that'll be bad for business. I could throw him into the acid when he wasn't in the pipe, but now that he's in the pipe, if he falls in the acid, that counts as a game over for me. Before you just instinctively decide to start flushing him down by pushing the red buttons and putting him into the pipes immediately, you should always look out for blue valves, because you need to spin on these blue valves in order to make certain pipes reconnect broken surfaces, broken pathways. Because if I launched him without launching that blue valve, he just would have fell right into the acid, and that would have been it for Cortex, and then I have to go back and redo it. So, don't flush Cortex until you know for sure that you've gotten every blue valve in the area, and that the tubes that he's going to be going into will get to a destination and not send him to his death, you know? Every now and then you'll eventually push him back into a thing that will get him out of the pipe. I'm not sure how it works, but hey, that's how this whole level is designed. Take that, rats! Damn it, Cortex, kill it! Oh, this enemy type's kind of annoying. So, like, this enemy can attack Cortex and actually kill him. So you gotta be careful when he shoots his little acid breath thing. He shoots this little acid ball at you, that you want to dodge it with both characters. You're not just dodging it with Crash. You want to make sure it doesn't hit the back of you, which is Cortex as well, because that will count as killing him. And then you have to go back to a previous checkpoint. But, like, you spin into him, and then he gets on his back, but he's not dead yet, right? It's not like these little cockroach things where I just spin into them once and they die. Once you spin into the big bug, it goes on its side, and then you have to slam him with Cortex in order to flatten him and get rid of him for good. So, again, you watch out for those guys, you make sure to dodge the little acid spit. They will almost always get an acid spit in on you as soon as they see you, and then you spin them, slam them when they're down, and that's how you kill that particular enemy. So, yeah. Also, watch out for the steam vents that are popping out, because that will burn you, and that'll be quite deadly to Crash and Cortex. Man, I live for these kind of backgrounds. I live for, like, these little pistons and these cogs spinning and all the little tubes and stuff that I'm walking around on and the spinny contraptions. It's just set decoration, I know, but I kind of live for these kind of level designs where you get to look around and just see all this crazy machinery and technology going on in the background. It's just, makes me giddy as a schoolgirl. Something I haven't mentioned yet, Crash Twinsanity has a very interesting and fun Boxart Gag. Because, like, I think we're at the point now where we've seen everything that Crash and Cortex can do in the game, right? Like, we've seen them fight in the little ball formation. We've seen Crash ride Cortex like a snowboard. We've seen him pushing Cortex around in a pipe and stuff. And it lists all the things you're going to be doing with the Crash Cortex combo on the back of the box. So, like, you're reading through, and then at the very bottom of the box art, it shows another thing they can do but it's obscured by the ESRB rating logo, and the only thing it says is censored. So, that's like one of the first times I've ever heard of like a box art, like the back packaging of the game, having a little gag where they're showing you all the things you're going to be doing with Crash and Cortex, all the crazy combinations they're going to have, and one of those combinations is censored, and thanks ESRB, I wanted to know what they're doing. Do Crash and Cortex have a very intimate combination? I don't know. Maybe the developers designed something like that behind the scenes, but I'm not Traveler's Tales Oxford Studio. I don't know what went on, you know. Again, you want to spin all the blue valves so that they will complete the pathways that Cortex is going in. The good thing is, all of the platforms that take you to the next platform, to take you to the next platform, that take you to the next platform, they don't really spawn in until you destroy the blue valves and make the pipes come in and stuff. So, like, if you find yourself stranded or in a dead end, you kind of know that, like, you're not finished yet. And, it's pretty self-explanatory. Still, I like every time I do this, I get to, like, watch Cortex and, like, pay attention to what he's doing and just follow him along the pipes. Although I have had one glitchy encounter where Cortex sort of got hung up in the sky, and then he just sort of dropped into the acid below. And it wasn't because I didn't complete the pathway correctly. I completed the pathway correctly, but Cortex just sort of launched like halfway into the sky, and then it was weird. It was like an invisible wall kind of hit him or something. He just sort of like hit nothing, and then he immediately fell down and went right into the acid and cost me a life, and I had to redo that entire section, even though I completed the path correctly. And that was like the only time I've ever seen that happen was during a test playthrough of this particular section. Before I recorded this, that happened. And it didn't happen when I was recording it. I don't remember it happening when I played Crash Twinsanity back in the day, but I get the feeling a lot of people are going to comment on this video suggesting that, like, hey, when I played the pipe section, Cortex, like, got himself killed somehow. And maybe, you know, because it happened to me once. So, I don't know how glitchy or how accident-prone this particular area is. I've only had Cortex die on his own one time for me, which, he shouldn't die ever. But, you know, it's happened to me. It's happened to me, and I've seen it, and I just thought it was worth mentioning that, it's not your fault, okay? It's not your fault. Listen to me, viewer. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Anywho, with that last yellow-colored gem right there, booyah, I have collected all 6 gems of Boiler Room Doom. I would say most of the gems in the Academy of Evil are actually really easy to collect. Most of them are just kind of placed in very obvious linear pathways that you just kind of will obviously know when you're going through the level itself. Even on a casual playthrough, I found that, like, I got most of the gems in the Academy of Evil when I wasn't really trying to look for them. I wasn't really going out of my way to find them. It's just they always seem to be on the way, and they're kind of just, like, there, and it's really easy to spot them, so yeah. Oh, I should talk about the checkpoint issues here, because I have to double jump in order to get from platform to platform here, and unlike the previous platform chains, which were like one jump, you know, I was always doing one jumps, and then with this chain, it was double jump chains, because they're just that far apart from each other. And if you fall into the acid after you've solved all this, and you have to go through all the blue valves and destroy all of them and create all these pathways for Cortex to go and get through the area, if you die hopping between those platforms, if you miss a jump and fall right into the acid, you have to do all of those blue valves and set up those pipes all over again. Anywho, it's Dingodile.
How's it, ain't it? Rumour is you two chums have got your mitts in some treasure, and I want a piece of that pie.
I have no idea what you just said.
Okay, folks, this is the guy I think is the hardest boss in the whole entire game. The final boss is certainly trial and error as well, and it's annoying because of how long the final boss goes on for, but I would say, in terms of catching you off guard, in terms of getting shots in on you, and again, you can only go in with like 2 Aku Aku masks, and that means you have like 3 hits you're allowed to take, right? Dingodile has a very specific pattern. When you know what to do, it's always going to be the same every time you play the game. It's not like he's doing anything random. You'll be memorizing what he does, believe me, because every time you hit him, he does something new with his pattern. Like the first time, he was just shooting fireballs everywhere. You hit him once, and then he shoots along the ground in a circle, then he shoots above, and you want to duck in a circle, and now we're at the third phase where he's going to be shooting one direction, and then he's going back the direction. Well, he doesn't always go back the direction. Sometimes he'll go the other direction as well, like he just did right there. But you have to sort of be careful, and you have to pay attention and know that, like, he might come back, you know, and get ready for that. Get ready to jump over that. And you'd think, okay, now, when he winds up, he's going to be doing what he always does. He's going to be building up energy, and he's going to be shooting low to hit the switch that you need him to shoot so that the button will be exposed. But no, he'll actually charge up, and then he'll do this big firewall that he'll try and chase you with. And I thought he was just building up the one shot, so I stood there like an idiot and let him hit me, and I took damage and stuff, you know? And now he's doing the spin thing where he's going up, down, and sometimes you might want to duck, sometimes you might want to jump over it, but you gotta know the timing of it before you make that decision, you know? Again, it doesn't take much to get killed when you come in with, like, maybe only 1 Aku Aku mask. And this part I did take damage here because he chases you and then he immediately switches it up and goes ahead of you, or at least he's supposed to go ahead of you. In every other playthrough I've done with this guy, he's supposed to go ahead of me. He went behind me this time, so I turned around expecting him to go ahead of me, and I ran right into the fire and took damage, and that's just like, ah. Dingodile is a lot more trial and error than he looks. He is certainly, I would say, the hardest boss in the whole entire game. But, you know, once you figure out his pattern, he ain't too bad to deal with. Isn't Insanity Island supposed to be somewhere near Australia? Why is Dingodile like the only Australian acted character? Aside from Crash Bandicoot himself, if you saw the Skylanders cartoon show. Because Crash Bandicoot was in Skylanders, and you should check that out. But anywho, folks, we'll be going deeper into the Academy of Evil to find Cortex's niece in Part 8. Till then.